Welcome to the Lighthome Sustainable Design podcast series. We talk with the architects and builders about green design and homes that really suit the way we love to live.
I'm Nicole, and today I'm talking to architect Neil Mackenzie from Neil Pronk Architects about his project in Earlwood. This is a contemporary house in a suburban street. It appears that the clients had some elements they really wanted, but there was also some space for creative design. How did you work through that?
Yeah, look, a really standard streetscape with a mixture of housing. They wanted a house of this century. They wanted, a kind of contemporary volumetric architecture. A few things that they were very clear on in terms of, the look and some of the finishes. But they also wanted to be quite dynamic and, open plan.
So the clients really wanted to get that cube look?
Yes, yeah. I mean, simple open plan cubic forms was how we interpreted it.
Okay.
When you look at the brief in more detail, and a house is a house. It's 4 bedrooms, it's a kitchen, it's a dining, but the disposition of those spaces and how they worked on the site, gave us the chance for, exploring an abstract composition that was volumetric and, cubic from its street presentation and to a degree sculptural, which really, did come from their brief.
Were there any challenges with the site?
Yeah, quite a narrow block, and like any inner west sort of sites, relatively close neighbours. The site had, quite a steepish slope to it. So, yeah, the building does step up the site. And really, I guess, in terms of approval pathways, challenge to design a contemporary home in a streetscape, with mixed sort of heritage. But it was a challenge getting it through council, but we got it.
How long did that process take?
I think the actual time in council was close to 6 months, which frankly is sometimes reasonably standard, but it should be a lot less.
After you take the design brief from the client, where do you get your inspiration from for the project?
The challenge for us, again, in the streetscape and in the reasonably tight confines of a relatively thin block, was that how could we sculpt forms that served the spaces that met our client's brief, but also did all the right things in that, you don't want to overshadow the neighbours and you don't want to overshadow your own outdoor spaces. And so in many ways, the sculpting of the forms was a response to those things. So there's a very strong angled line through the main living space, which is basically the form of the roof that is read on the inside of the void in the main living space, which really is on some levels quite a simple and traditional roof form, and yet what you read from the street is the main volumes, and they're the sort of cubic forms. So it was integrating into that streetscape and in a way challenging it a little bit as well, and yet not overshadowing or not, being unneighbourly in some ways.
Do you provide architectural renders or models to the clients?
Our practice, we build models of, in fact we did a few models, 3D models of the building at an early stage. Lots of sketches, we work in lots of hand-drawn sketches, and we also do computer modelling. Once the design is pretty much bedded down, we then, test the spaces with, a number of computer renders. They're kind of remarkable. Sometimes, as a tool, you look at the space and you look at the render and you're not sure which one's which.
Are they an important part in the process?
It is. Here with the architects, we spend a lot of time, in 3D land, changing things and pulling things around. As much time as we spend scribbling on bits of paper, we also spend, really manipulating the forms or the spaces in 3D.
Earlwood House uses 3 main lightweight materials: Easy Lap, Eco-Ply and timber. Why did you choose these materials, and what were the benefits?
I guess all the generally obvious benefits of that construction system. So it was basically a garage and basement level, which is kind of engaged in the site and, excavated. then a concrete slab, which is basically the main ground floor, and then everything else is framed, lightweight, very well insulated. The play between the different cladding materials is another layer of the sculpture of the building. You know, lightweight from its cost to its thermal performance to the look of it. I don't think we ever thought it would be anything other than a lightweight building sitting on a base that had some sort of gravitas, which in the end was made in lightweight materials, being the timber is the base element. Price as well, it's certainly reasonably economic way to build.
Do you think the same result could have been achieved with traditional heavyweight materials?
I don't think so. There are deeply recessed covered outdoor spaces. There's the projecting front edges which give sun shading and degree of the architecture. Yeah, you could possibly employ some alternate palette, but really it's a lightweight construction, and yeah.
Did you have an input in terms of the colour palette?
Quite minimal, some warmth in it. The client's initial vision was a white box. The client's vision changed that it might be a black and white box. It ends up that the building has a bit more warmth in it than that. There's still a strong darker tones of the shadow-clad product. There's the lighter tones of the easy lap, and then the base is the warm timber tones. Yeah, I guess that palette just developed as the project went on. Yeah, I think they're very happy with it. We certainly did a number of test samples, and we had numerous debates over the palette, and the white box slowly became a different coloured box. And yeah, it's still pretty true to the client's, I think, original desire.
You mentioned that the house is well insulated. Is the insulation a lightweight material as well?
It is. Look, whenever we employ lightweight construction, you go as high a R value as possible, really. So I think we're R4 in the ceiling and R2.5 or 3 in the walls. It's well insulated, and the key thing also is that it's designed with cross ventilation and with the big void through the middle and the highlight glazing. It gets very good stack ventilation. There's no air conditioning. Employs all the principles of passive solar design. The covered outdoor living spaces get great winter sun, but no summer sun. And with a long, thin block, you can have luck on your side, and the orientation is quite good for the living spaces in the way that they would obviously be laid out on the site as well.
Does that void play a role in airflow through the building?
Yeah, certainly. So we've got louver banks that run along virtually, more than half the building at the upper level, but there's a connection from the walkway space to the bedrooms down into the main living space. That's inducing a stack ventilation effect and helping certainly to cool the house.
What is your favourite feature of the house?
The simple, big, interconnected living, dining and kitchen space that opens out to the covered outdoor space. So it's really that main living level. There's got a lot going on. There's the void space that brings great light deep into the living space.
It appears the clients were very involved. Does this assist you as an architect working through the process?
Absolutely. You can only do good buildings with good and keen and eager clients, and our clients on this project were fantastic and really excited about really all stages of the process and very involved. They understood, they always did their homework and they certainly came to design meetings with some really strong ideas. And maybe the only thing that was difficult in the whole process was the design of their stair, which, I think we designed about sort of 10 stairs for them. But I think they're happy with the stair they got. I think they love it. So, yeah, they always had it from in their brief from day one that they wanted a striking stair that linked the levels. So the stair that was in their mind was a brilliant stair, and we tried to design it, but it was designing to meet a budget as well. That's always the challenge.
Overall, was the experience a positive one for yourself, the clients, and also the builders?
Yeah, it was great. Look, everyone got on very well. Doing residential work, you work so closely with your clients. You go on a journey. It's a very personal thing. You're into the minutiae of the aesthetics of the way they live, of their relationships, and it is a great privilege. Good clients who want a good product, want a good outcome, and work collaboratively with you.
Have they given you their feedback on the house?
I think they're very happy with it. I think they love it. We certainly always seek post-occupancy evaluations, and so far it's all positive. There are things that didn't proceed from the early planning, and largely because of just a sensible analysis of potential costs, and we tried to keep a handle on not going overboard. But look, those things that didn't go ahead. So there were things in the earlier brief. There was an outdoor pool cabana, and there was rooftop terrace, and there were other things which really in the end I don't think would have made the house necessarily much better. They were just additional things which really would have pushed the cost way up.
Would you say that this project was a cost-effective build?
I think so. In the end, it is a big bespoke house. It's 3 levels. It's got generous spaces and a lovely kitchen and really nice elements. But it's under the magic $1 million mark, which it's hard to build a house like that for that sort of money, frankly.
Is this really a sustainable house suited to the Australian climate?
Again, as an urban house, the thing you are aiming for is basically getting all that passive solar design in place, and it's achieved all that. I think thermally the house will perform well in a thermal sense. It has great cross ventilation. I think it will be a very comfortable house to live in, Sydney climate. In terms of the aesthetics of the house, it doesn't necessarily trumpet the fact that that's the sort of house it is.
Can you tell me about Sydney Building Corporation, the builders who you worked with on this project?
Look, we work with an ever-increasing, group of builders, but SBC have won, I think, 4 or 5 projects from us over the last 5 odd years. So they know generally what we're looking for as a design intent. They build very well. We've got good relationships with all of them, like with a number of builders who we work with. But it's such an important thing, the relationship between architect and builder, and certainly between client, architect and builder. There are 3 parties and weekly meetings. There's 100 questions, and 50 of them are for the architect and 50 are for the client. Even when you've detailed and documented a house quite thoroughly, there is a process that happens on site that is a continuation of the design development really as you build.
Does the size of the building company make a difference to you?
I guess so. I mean, all of the building companies we work with are on the smaller side. It's really about relationship with a foreman, with the principal of the building company. Indeed, when you're working with these sized firms, is in attendance to all the site meetings. I guess also when you've worked with a company a few times, you start to, know their tradesmen, tradespeople, and have conversations with them. And we, as architects, always want to ask a builder's opinion as well. We want the best builderly outcome as well as, the best design outcome. So it's got to be a collaborative thing.
Do you think the builders enjoy working with Lightmate construction materials?
Absolutely. The sort of speed of construction, I suppose, is one of the great benefits. It seems you're there 1 week and the frame's almost finished, and the next week half the cladding or more is complete. So certainly speed. Builders would I'm sure, agree with that.
Thank you very much, Neil,
That's all right.
for answering those questions.
That's all right.